So we can start the annual clan meeting with 5 members in attendance.
5.
So we'll bring up the first point, which was TeamSpeak and the website. And that was that the discussion we've had was that TeamSpeak is that all members need to be in TeamSpeak and visiting the website at least once a week, as that's where all information is being passed out. And secondly, if you're not in TeamSpeak and you're not on the website at all, are you really an active member? Any questions, concerns, or comments?
I know, just me being newer, I hardly ever see anybody on. Nobody's ever in TeamSpeak. Nobody's ever gaming anymore. There's like 5 or 6 of us that are always on here, and that's it.
Well, what do we do? I guess the question is what needs to be done to get the guys back into TeamSpeak and the website?
The purpose of TeamSpeak and the purpose of the website are, they go hand in hand. We don't have TeamSpeak so we can talk to each other while we play games. We have TeamSpeak and we have the website so we can communicate with each other, not just on important clan information, but we're all friends here, and it gives us opportunities to shoot the shit with each other all the time, be it in text, funny posts, or blowing each other's shit inside of a TeamSpeak channel. If they want to be part of the group, they want to be part of the family, they need to participate. If they don't participate, they have to ask themselves, do they really want to be part of this family?
I mean, my thing is, and I've always done this since the day I started with the clan, even as a recruit, when I get online, I open whatever VoOp we're using and I got in. I may sometimes have been the only person there. I may have been in there with 30 other people. But I got online when I got into VoOp when I got online. There was no question or concern about that.
User joined your channel.
Welcome, Breaker.
Hello.
We're discussing right now TeamSpeak and the website. And what's been discussed is essentially members need to be on the website on TeamSpeak at least once a week. If there's extenuating circumstances, I'm sick, I'm not going to be here, I'm going to be away for a while because I'm working odd hours, whatever, but that stuff that can be transmitted through PM or chat box saying, hey guys, I'll be back in a month, I'm going to the Philippines for a month.
Right, I'm a perfect example of that.
Sorry, I had my mic muted, but I got you.
And so everybody knows, if you have reason for not being here, we're understanding. I got sick, I could not be here, and nobody felt that they needed to disown me because I couldn't be in TeamSpeak and I couldn't play games. We're understanding of these things. What we're saying is, if you're well and you're good, and the way the games have gone, if you're playing Steam games, we're going to see that you're playing Steam games because we've probably friended you. Same thing with, EA games now. If you're in Battlefield, we're going to know that you're playing Battlefield games. And if you're playing games, you really should be inside of our TeamSpeak. There's no reason not to be. Even if you're in a channel sitting by yourself, not talking to anybody, you need to be in TeamSpeak because A, you can tell people that are playing with you, why don't you hop into our TeamSpeak? And B, the busier TeamSpeak looks, the more people will get into it. It's got to perpetuate itself. It's just not going to get busy all by itself.
I'm all good for that, but, I'm recording gameplay, and if I can have a channel to myself where I can record without, having interruptions, you know what I mean?
I will say, Breaker, that you're not the first person that has ever
Recording channel.
Yeah, that's what I was about ready to say. You're not the only person that has wanted to do that or expressed interest in doing that, and I think that that's a valid point, and I think that if we were to create a recording channel, we can do so. And then if somebody needs to get a hold of whoever's in the recording channel, you don't pop in there. You just poke them or send them a message saying, hey, hop up and channel. And then whatever you're recording, you can either pause or tell them, hey, it's going to be about 5 more minutes and then I'll be available. You see anything wrong with that?
No, that'd work. I mean, as long as as long as people will respect a recording channel, I'm fine with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm good with that. Are we going to talk about servers in the meeting?
Yeah, if that's coming up.
Okay.
But I guess since you brought it up, we can go ahead and move over to the games. And part of the discussion was, obviously it's not just the lack of interest from the clan on BF4 and popping servers and whatnot. The guys that play BF4 play BF4, and that's what game they choose to play. The question comes up, though, on the what everybody else is playing and what games do we want Big to potentially sponsor. For example, CSGO, is a popular game amongst our members, but it doesn't give us any... They don't give us any incentive to purchase a server for CSGO because, A, you don't join servers that way on the game. You don't pick to go to Big. You join in a pool. And so that game there specifically doesn't do us much good to have the servers going.
I mean, there is a server browser for Counter-Strike Go, but I don't think it's implemented.
Right. I think most people either join a game, either competitive or whatever. They don't actively seek out. They wouldn't actively seek out a big server.
Well, it's good for like clan scrims and stuff like that, but the big draw, as I've found out, is and I think we talked about it before. You don't get the drops that everybody are after on private servers.
The only comment I would make is when we spend money on servers, we want to spend money on servers that we can recruit from. And currently the only real server that we can recruit from is Battlefield. We have recruited out of Killing Floor. Other than that, I don't know any other game that's worthwhile renting that would do it. Now there's some stuff coming up in January, I know. Earlier, Juicy mentioned Evolution. Is that the name of it? I can't remember it.
Evolve.
Evolve might be something we can look at.
Can I put my 2 cents on servers and money?
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question? How often has the clan members been playing on Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 4 server?
Those people that are donating are the guys that are in Battlefield right now.
Okay, because I had a conversation with Landy about it, and I mean, if you want my opinion on it, I can give you it, but I mean...
Right, and we're open for suggestion. The issue is, before you make the suggestion, though, is regardless of whether or not the money comes out of clan funds or the funds from the guys that are playing Battlefield, essentially the money is going to come out of the clan's funds. Because, for example, right now, our monthly cost is around $140, I believe, and only about 40 of that is for the Battlefield 4 server. So if we've got several people that have said, if the clan stops paying for that server, that they are going to step up and carry the costs on the server. So, if I'm donating in $50 a month and nobody else steps up to pay for that server, I'm going to pay for the server. But, my money is limited just like everybody else, which is only going to lead me to donating $10 a month back into the clan fund. So you see what I'm saying? So that they're regardless if it's coming out of our pocket or not, it will ultimately end up coming out of Big's donations. But it's not coming out of the minimum donation, if you will.
Yeah, I see where you're getting at. But, I mean, I talked about it with, Landscape the other day. And I think I described it as back in the day when, my mom would pay for a monthly subscription and I hardly ever played that game. It was just, taking $5 out of her pocket that, my brother and I never played. on or popped. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if we can get more people to play it, it won't be as much of a money pit as the way I guess some people see it as. Where I'd log onto the website the couple weeks I've been out for oral surgery, and I see that it's just been empty for like 2 weeks.
Well, it hasn't been empty. I've been in there popping it. And everybody needs to get in there and pop it, and that's part of the problem. Nobody's coming in there. Even if you come in for 10 or 15 minutes, you should be in there and help get it popped. Nobody's doing that.
Well, I mean, there's the issue of a lot of people had bad taste of Battlefield 4. Like, I have it uninstalled. I have no interest in playing it anymore. I lived through video games of, oh, this update might be able to fix this, this, and that, and I don't want to relive that. It
Right,
just drive you insane.
and that's understandable. I guess the thing is though is like what was brought up by Fat Boy. Battlefield is the only thing that's bringing in one. It's bringing in the money, and two, it's bringing in potential members. We still get people into not only TeamSpeak, but which will eventually lead into more clan leadership. But that if that's where our money's coming from, you can't kick the gift horse in the mouth. And I understand with what you're saying, and you're not alone, dude. I mean, it's getting harder and harder. If you look at our squad deathmatch, and you look at squad deathmatch as a whole, there's essentially 2 or 3 squad deathmatches out there, and if one of them are empty, they're all empty. If one of them is popped, then usually you'll get 1 or 2 that'll pop. Now we've talked about changing modes, etc. The only reason why we had gone with squad deathmatch over some of the other modes like rush and whatnot was because it was the least serviced side of the game. I mean, there's 100 team deathmatch servers, there's 100 rush servers, there's 100 conquest servers out there, but there was only a handful of squad deathmatch, and that was why we thought, okay, we'll stick our niche into the squad deathmatch and see if we can pull from there. And believe me, I understand what you're saying, but like I said, it's only the Battlefield is only a small portion of what our monthly expenses are. We still have to pay for the website. We still have to pay for TeamSpeak. Even if we don't pay for any other servers, which we've talked about killing off everything. But there's still, if we kill off all game servers, there's still $100 a month that has to be answered for. Which kind of brings us into the next topic, which was donation and dues. If we're not getting those donations in, or we're not getting, if people want to call them dues or donations, whatever, if we're not getting those in, the website and TeamSpeak can't be active.
And see, like with popping Battlefield and everything, people aren't popping Battlefield, and it's going hand in hand with TeamSpeak. People aren't even in TeamSpeak. I check it every day. I've been in there every day checking it, and it's like nobody's ever on. So everybody keeps saying, oh, it's Battlefield doing all this, but so Battlefield's doing it to TeamSpeak too? Battlefield's doing it to the website? It seems like the only time people are ever on everything, except for, the Battlefield server, is when somebody's fighting about something and everybody's talking smack. Then everybody wants to get involved and everybody's in TeamSpeak. And that's what I'm seeing what's going on, and I think that's part of the issue of what's causing all this.
I mean, another issue is people are siding with, they have alliances with friends they had through, however long they've been, and members leaving, and they're, in the dilemma of, well, I play this, this, and this, but over here nobody plays this, this, and this, so what's the reason? You know what I mean?
Right, and I 100% agree with you, dude. But even, for example, though, if you have, and we'll get off of Battlefield, if you were trying to pop the Insurgency server, and I have, which we don't have anymore, I have Insurgency, and if you needed one more person to pop Insurgency, and I'm playing Battlefield all by myself up there, and you came up and said, Tuggin, we need one more person to get the Insurgency server started. Will you come? Will you pop in until the server gets popped? I would say yes, I'll come in. I wouldn't whatever, I would just come in. The only way that you can do that is if I'm in TeamSpeak. If I pop into TeamSpeak and there's nobody in there, I know it as much as everybody else. A lot of people get in, they see that nobody's in TeamSpeak, and they leave. Or they sit up in the AFK channel while they sit there and play. Instead of sitting in a server or in a room by themselves. And that's what part of the issue is.
It shouldn't really be about alliances or anything anyway with people. It should be about the clan. And everybody should be working forward and toward making sure that we've got this clan built up so that we can afford things and people can play games. This isn't like clan, Survivor where you're setting up alliances and trying to weed people out and kick people off. I mean, it's just like if you're running a company, if you've got a bad person in the company and everything, you got to get that person out of there or else they pollute the whole company. And everybody needs to be working toward making sure that everything's set and people are paying their dues and we're popping what servers we've got out there. And, everybody's in TeamSpeak and people go and check the website and see what's going on there. Everybody should be working for that instead of trying to set alliances up and stab people in the back.
Extremely well said.
But also in Breaker's defense, I understand what he's saying. It's kind of like, your friends, I'm friends with certain people that aren't here anymore, that I still talk to either on Skype or text message or phone calls or whatever. There are people out there that I still talk to and that I still care about and that I still, would like to game with. And, it's kind of hard. You have, Breaker, I understand where you're coming from, dude. You have guys that are still part of Big, that you're still friends with, that you still want to hang out with, but then you're being pulled over this way by the guys who've left Big and have started up their own little platoon or whatever you want to call it that they're all a part of, and you're being pulled one way or the other. Do you come into TeamSpeak and hang out with the guys in Big, where you're still a member of? And potentially alienate the guys that have left because they're upset or they were upset with how the clan was run or by people in the clan, and potentially lose those friends? Or do you lose the friends that are part of Big? Dude, I understand exactly what you're saying. And the biggest thing that I can say to you on that is that it has to come up. It's your decision. You have to decide on what is important to you. You can be friends with both groups. That's the one thing I've learned. Me, for example, I'm usually in TeamSpeak and Big's TeamSpeak. I'm in Skype with Primal, and I'm usually in B&B's TeamSpeak at the same time. And not to mention Squad Chat in Battlefield. So I have 4 conversations going on at one time. Is it annoying as hell? Yeah, it's annoying, but that's what I want to do. I like hanging out with the guys in B&B. The guys in B&B aren't going to, join the Big TeamSpeak because they have their own. So for me to talk to them while I'm in game with them or to talk smack to them, I have to jump over into their channel as well.
Right.
And sometimes you have to do that. You have to sit on the fence.
I mean, I wouldn't use the word pull. They're not, like, I see it with anybody. They're not being pulled towards anywhere.
I wasn't meaning like they were saying, oh, you need to come over here or else kind of thing. I didn't mean they're pulling you that way. I meant inside you have an internal struggle that you're going through that says, do I, which if I go into TeamSpeak, it looks like I'm taking their side. If I go with them, it looks like I'm taking their side. That's what I meant by you feel like you're being pulled. It's more like how you're possibly feeling than it is what's actually happening, I guess I could say.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like working for a company. You work for your company, you're devoted to your company, you work hard for it so that you can generate revenue so that everybody gets a paycheck. It's the same thing with Big. Everybody's got to do the same thing for it. And when people leave and go to a different company, and say you're really close with them, you've worked with them for years, you keep in contact with them and everything and, shoot the crap with them. But, you have to say, if there's a position that opens up, do I leave this company and go to work for the other company where my friends are at? Or I'm secure here, everything's taken care of. Do I just stay here and just shoot the crap with my friends from time to time? You can still hang out with them and do things with them, but you still work for your company. And that's how you got to treat it. Do you either stay for company A and leave or go over to company B? Everybody needs to make a decision and stop this flip-flopping back and forth.
I mean, bottom line is, dude, and I understand what you were saying, But the bottom line is that we need all members, if you're a member of Big, to be in TeamSpeak and to be checking the website regularly. We're not saying that, if you don't do this, we're going to take your tags away, but it's going to be at a point where we're going to have to start on the new website. People are either going to be moved to, people are going to be active members, and those people who are gone for, multiple weeks at a time without anybody telling us, they'll be moved over as an inactive member. So they don't show on that roster anymore. With your oral surgery, for example, just dropping a line to anybody in the clan, solves that. Hey, I'm going to have oral surgery today, or I had oral surgery yesterday. I won't be in TeamSpeak for probably a couple of weeks. At least then we know. Or you ain't even got to say that. Hey, I won't be in TeamSpeak for a couple of weeks. I got stuff to take care of. That simple.
Man, I've been doing that. I mean, I think Gunner and Reddick knew, and I think JJ, you knew, and I mean, I let everybody know I was going to be inactive for a while for the reasoning of that.
Right, and the reason you do that, it isn't because it's part of the rules. You do that because you respect the guys that are here in the clan with you.
Right. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, dude. I've asked several people where you were. Of course, I didn't ask anybody that you've named, but I've asked other people, Neptite and whatnot. Hey, I haven't seen Breaker around. I wonder where in heck Breaker's at. Wonder what happened to him. Did he leave us? Is he still part of us? And, that's our bust, We as the clan council need to put a post up for those kinds of issues that, hey, so-and-so will be out temporarily. Mark does it all the time. Rat Fart, when he goes away, hey guys, I'm going off to China. I'll see you guys in about a month. So, I guess that's the one thing that we would like to see. We need to get everybody back into TeamSpeak, because with recruiting, which is going to be one of our last topics, nobody wants to come into an empty TeamSpeak server. And like Primal was saying with the Strife, when all that stuff was going on, nobody wants to come in to that either. I wouldn't. If I came into somebody's TeamSpeak and you feel all that hostility in the air, I'd be like, screw these guys. But getting back to the topic, which was the games and the servers, what games are you playing?
I mostly play Insurgency, Payday 2. I've been playing The Forest.
So why don't we take a poll on what games everybody's playing? We'll generate a list, do an 80-20 analysis, and the top 20% is what we support for the clan.
Can you describe the 80-20 for us lay people?
Oh, I'm sorry. What that does is, say you got 100 games that everybody plays, and you lay that all out, and you look at who all plays it, and you'll rank them, and the top 20% out of the 100 games that are all played is pretty much what everybody's playing anyway, even out of the 100. Because they'll, each game, say Battlefield, 50 people are playing Battlefield, and, the next one is 40 people, I'm just going to say Minecraft, because everybody always blows it crap all the time. So those would be the, top tier games, and you would just go down 20% of those 100, and those would be the games that we would support. And then the rest of them, you just wipe them out, because nobody's even really playing them, even though they bring them up all the time.
I like the idea, but I can see some, I guess, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but I'm going to throw tension out there for, like, oh, well, so many people play this game, but in this percentile, it's not going to be supported here, so you know what I mean?
Well, statistically, with the numbers that are showing, nobody's actually playing them. That's what I'm saying. So you can't really argue with the numbers. And if somebody feels passionate, I like playing this once in a while, you can go play it by yourself. Nobody's saying that you can't do what you want at home. This is to support the clan, and this is what makes everything work together. So we got to statistically do this instead of going by hearsay of what everybody's saying, because it sounds like everybody's broken and fragmented and thinking this or that. And if you're looking at the actual numbers of it, then you can run the clan properly. And then nobody can say, well, this or that. Nope, here's the numbers.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And that kind of gives us back to the active versus inactive members. If you're an inactive member, because you're never in TeamSpeak, you're not on the website, then you're not really a member of the clan, and so I'm not saying that your voice doesn't matter, but somebody like you who's usually in all the time, obviously your opinion means more to all of us than somebody who we see once every 6 months. You know what I'm saying? The guy that's once every 6 months, if he doesn't like Battlefield 4, it doesn't really bother me. If you don't like Battlefield 4 and don't think that we should support it, then does mean stuff to me. But I think that you definitely brought up a good point. Payday 2 I haven't actually looked at much, and I'll get with you separately on that issue. But, the Insurgency server, everybody wanted the Insurgency server. People even complained that we didn't have the Insurgency server, but we had a Insurgency server for 6 months, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Joe, you just shut it down this week, didn't you?
Yeah. I didn't see a lot of people playing it. When I got sick, I stopped playing it, and that server sat empty. Looking at the stats on it, the last 2 months, it didn't even have a blip that people were inside of that server, which was why that server was gone. There was no need to pay for it.
And that brings up, if you're popping the server, we don't have a problem. And Joe has always been the benefactor here. Joe has always stepped up and said, we'll pay for it for a month. If you can get it popped in that month, then the clan can look at playing it or paying for it long term. But it's got to be popped, and like Insurgency, it just wasn't popped. And I don't know if you had missed that or not, but we had discussed CS:GO, and CS:GO is a great game, but it doesn't behoove us to have a CS:GO server unless we're just doing practice.
Right. I think with the Insurgency server, I think people were expecting a PvP server instead of a co-op, and that's why majority of the people were interested in it.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's what I'm saying. If it was a PvP, those are the kinds of conversations that we need to have.
And I was going to say, that's the first I've ever heard of that.
The first I have too. I didn't even know there was a difference, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, I think it was because no one knew how about to go towards it, of asking without, seeming demanding or anything, that no one said anything.
Look, I'll tell you one thing. There's nobody here that has thin skin. I mean, we're all thick-skinned enough that, if you say something to me and completely upset me personally, 5 minutes later, I'm over it. Am I still going to be a little bit hostile towards you 5 minutes later? Probably, but after, 24 hours, a week or whatever, I'm a guy, dude. It doesn't bother me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you say something, and when you type in a forum anyways, stuff tends to come off. People read how they want to read it. I can say happy birthday to somebody, and you can read into it 50 different ways, and I'm being, slutty, sexy nurse, happy birthday, or I'm being, angry, shouting guy, happy birthday, or I can just be happy birthday. It doesn't matter how you type it. People are going to read into it what they read into it.
I mean,
so if you have those kinds of suggestions, we are always open to hear those suggestions.
Couldn't you just put a request in for it, whatever that you're needing, and then everybody look at it and take a vote on it, so we've got some numbers behind it?
That's what
I'm with that too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was gonna say maybe we should make a post or a sticky.
I think Primal was on the right track, though, in regards to, let's start it with doing the 80-20 analysis of what games everybody's playing. And we mean every game, even if any game, well, let me back up. Any game that's a multiplayer game. Don't put on there that I'm playing Candy Crush. That's not really a multiplayer game, and it doesn't do the clan any good. But even if it's something that the clan, CS:GO, for example, it's not something that we can support as a clan as far as buying a server for, but at least then we know people are playing it, and hey, I didn't know these guys played that game. I've got it. I've been sitting on it for the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
That way we can get people back into TeamSpeak. We can get back that camaraderie that we've had lost with the Battlefield 4.
That way, it gives people an option to work and the clan to work towards something. If it's something that we don't have and everybody wants it, the whole clan can work toward that. And then when we get it, everybody celebrates by popping it and playing it and everything, which is cool. But right now, there's no way to submit anything. People, don't bring anything up. Nobody votes on it. We don't have any common goals. We're too fragmented.
I think either the new website or if we want to start doing it on this website, we should post a sticky of who has access to what server. So, like the insurgency situation, they can be like, oh well, say Fat Boy's more has more access to the server, so we can report to him for any changes or ideas. I think that'd be something helpful.
So just an admin sticky on who has admin rights.
Yeah, like
or who has admin rights versus who has, I guess, server admin rights.
Yeah, something like that. I think that'd be helpful.
We can do that.
We should probably look at setting it up. Whoever's got like the server rights and everything, like admin managers of each server, so that way if there's an issue or there's a change that needs to be set up, you would know who the manager is of that group or team.
See, I like that group and team thing. Like, if we have a council member devoted to a group of, like, a server, instead of having everybody or nobody around to access a server.
We can definitely do that, and we'll post it up. But you bring up the new website. There will be a post up here this week, well, actually, probably this weekend, rather, regarding how to register for the new website, and the tentative schedule right now we just got done discussing is that the old website will be probably shut down next week, so that way the domain switch can happen over from the battle or bigonline.biz will be switched over to the bigonline.org. So the current website that we have now will no longer, when you type in bigonline.org, it'll dump you to the new website. It'll probably be, Gunner will probably be putting out a post after he talks with Fat Boy about that, on what needs to be done for the registering on the new site. And one of the discussions that we've had on that is to be able to have active numbers. If you do not register on the new site, we won't consider you as an active member of BIG. We're not going to go to anybody and tell them, hey, you need to remove the BIG tags, but so that we can have valid numbers on who's active and who's inactive, instead of this, oh, how many times have you seen this person in TeamSpeak in the last month? We will be able to look at the website and say, yep, this is how many people we have in BIG right now.
With the website, I think I talked to you about the information, and do we need to give our full names, or can we? I know you were going to talk to somebody about it, but
the way it's set up, the way that we've got it set up is that we're going to keep it exactly the way that we have it on the old website. So on the new website, you will be known as Breaker, whatever you want. If you if you want your full name to display, you can do. My feeling is on that is you can do that as part of your signature. There is a way to, because what we would rather have, we don't want people to have like 3 names on there, because you're going to have, like, for me, I'll have Tuggin My Puda, council member, and then I don't really need to put my real name underneath that. It's just easier just to have the 2. You're a council member, you're a clan member, or whatever.
Right, I gotcha.
But that was the way, because most people know everybody by their gaming name and not necessarily their first name. The people who know each other by first names are those people that are on, first name basis with people. I always call Reddick. I always call Neptite. I know Neptite's first name is Josh. It's the same first name as mine. But we don't go by that. Fat Boy could probably go by Fat Boy, in parentheses Joe, if you wanted to, because, people know him as both.
The only, Tuggin, we had talked about that. We had talked about at least knowing first names. And the reason why we said first names was we have a lot, we used to, we don't anymore. We had a lot of people that were using different handles in different games, and it was easier for us to figure out who. I can't even give you an example off the top of my head. that was running different handles in different games. It was hard to keep track of. I have had 2 handles in my life. The only reason why I had the second handle was I got reset by EA and I became AKA Unknown. But I've always gone by Fatboy. And I think everybody should always go by one handle so we know who we are. And it's something we're not going to decide here, but we should probably stick a rule in there that if you're going to make your name as Jesus Juice, then you need to follow that through so all of your other brothers and sisters here know who you are. So they don't pop into a game and some guy by the name of, Jack the Ripper comes up and starts talking to you and you're like, who the hell is this?
Right. No, and we agree, and I agree with you on that. We've always kind of done it before when somebody changes their name in game, that they change their name on the website as well. But I mean, we can discuss that further. We'll put up a poll and see and ask everybody what they want. I guess that would be the easiest way to do it, because I know a lot of people, including myself, would rather have my gaming name, because that's what I'm known as in all the games, than I would putting in my first and last name or my first name up there. I don't go by Josh except for, people that I guess you could say I'm intimate with, people that I know on a face-to-face basis.
And I have
coworkers or family.
Yeah, I have no issues with that. Primal. Whenever I've seen them in a game, it's always been Primal. It's the other people that we run into that become an issue. Now, why the fuck would Shorty go into the Smokers Lounge?
Well, just so we're clear, Primal changes his name more often than I've changed apartments.
User
In the
was
past,
moved to your
yeah,
channel.
I have. I'll keep it the same though. I don't mind.
I know when we switch to the new website, I'm rechanging my name. It's probably confusing. I know I came into Insurgency. I think it's me. You were talking about Fat Boy, where I came in Insurgency under another name.
Yeah, you might have done that to me, and that was recently, but that's been the last 7 years. People have done it. Pick a name, stay with it.
But that brings me back to the other point. Sometimes people outlive their name, or whatever you want to say it. I don't want to be known as Tuggin' My Puda anymore. I want to be known as this, and this is what I'm changing my name to in game and everything else. And so doing that is fine, but we understand that people want to change names from time to time. It's just, if you do, you just need to let us know so we can go in and change your name on the website to reflect the new name. And then the other option there would be, obviously, if you're going to do a name change, you need to put a post up saying, hey, my new name is blah, blah, blah. That way people don't look at it and say, Breaker, whatever new name you're going to, we're looking, who the hell is this?
Mm-hmm.
We have a couple points left. One of them is the recruiting. We need to get people back into TeamSpeak for the specific purpose of recruiting. Like I said, nobody wants to come in here and see an empty TeamSpeak server. I know myself, I think Doger helped or volunteered to help out, and this goes for anybody else. We need to lock in what our recruiting process is going to be. I have no problem with the current where, there's not this whole, because of the number of members that we have, there's not a need to make somebody wait 30 days to tag up. That was kind of done in the past so that everybody could kind of get to know the person, see if they think, see if there'll be a good fit for us. And this really wasn't necessarily whether or not that person's a good fit for us. It was more on the flip side, is that person, are we a good fit for that person? And that was why we made them do the 30 days. But I think the 30 days is a little bit long, but I have seen reason to do that. We've had people in the past, even in the past 6 months, that have come in and expressed interest to us, that, hey, I want to join up, and then you never see the guy again.
My only comment to that would be, we're between 12 and 15 people right now?
Right.
At this point, I don't think we need a process to bring somebody in. If Breaker or Shorty or Primal came to me and said, this dude's a cool dude, I trust these guys, they want to be part of big, we'll bring them in. We're going to know in 30 days. We can always turn around and say, we thought you were going to be a cool guy. You're not. We got to show you the door. Or they're just never going to show up again. If we get, 50 or 60 members, then we need to think about how do we blend them into the rest of us. But right now, I don't think we have that issue.
And I agree with you. It's not really the issue of the waiting period. I don't think that 30 days fits. I think in the past when people have approached me, for example, and I've pulled people aside as far as like what steps do they need to do to be part of Big, it's pretty much, okay, you're in TeamSpeak, that's part of it. The other one, register on the website. The other one is, give us, come in and hang out a couple of times and see if this is something that you want before we lock you in and before you decide to put on the tags. It's more up to them. I look at somebody like Johnny, and Johnny came to us, and that same night that he came to us, he asked to be a part of Big. And it was, put the tags on. And then I look at somebody like, and he's been back ever since. But then you have like Fitted Karma, for example, not to pick on him, but he kind of did the same. He did the same thing, wanting to be a part of us. And I think part of it was us switching from, the TeamSpeak and the Mumble and all of that. And he hasn't gotten back in the habit of getting back in with us. But, we have guys like that come in and then they don't ever come back again. Or we see them once every 6 months. They're not an active member for us. And so that's why with like Rebel, for example, Rebel had come around for, I think, a couple of weeks before I finally said to him, because he hadn't ever brought it up to us, are you going to put the tags on or what? And he did, and he's been here ever since too. I think it's more of, as far as that side of it goes, they need to make sure that it's a fit for them. And that was the only thing as far as hesitating on having somebody tag up the same night, their first night here. It's different with Primal, for example. Primal and me have been friends for years. Primal knew all about Big. Primal had been in and out of Big's VOOP for several years, ever since I was a member. So Primal kind of knew the people that he was getting into. So when Primal finally, when somebody, I think it was Neptite, said, why don't you put the tags on? Primal just said, yeah, okay, and that was it. So there was no, there is no waiting period on that. I don't want to say that there's a set period of time. I guess really what it comes down to is getting those people into TeamSpeak, locking that part in. Deciding before, I know we had to do, what was it, like load on Game Tracker or something like that. Those things there, is that still necessary to do? And that's what I want to get people together to decide on. I guess locking in not only the recruitment side on, but also how we bring people in. That's what I mean about how bringing people in. Does that make any more sense?
Maybe we can bring people in as members, just standard members, so that we can get our pop-up. And then, when they're hanging out and, they become more active and, bringing people into the clan and helping out with things and, donations and everything, then they move into the active status where they know that they're an active member. These people are here weekly or daily or monthly, and regular members, they come, they go, but, we can kind of harvest that cash flow from them from wanting just to be into Big to help the clan out.
What if we had a login period? Like, we get someone to come in, let them kind of tread water, see how they like it, and then, like, maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 times they logged in, maybe ask? Instead of, like, as soon as they get in, a few hours, be like, so you want to tag up? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. And that was my whole point with like Rebel, for example. I didn't do that with Rebel. With Rebel, when he came in, it was just to get him into TeamSpeak. And then once he came into TeamSpeak and kept coming back into TeamSpeak, it was like, okay, this guy wants to be a part of us. That's when you ask him. You don't ask him the first night, because otherwise it's looking like you're desperate. It's like asking every girl out that you see at the bar. You don't do that. You get to kind of know them. You flirt with them a little bit. And then finally at the end of the night, or, the next weekend, that's when you ask them out on a date or whatever. You don't do it the first time you see them. Then you come off as this creepy stalker.
Yeah.
But those are the kinds of things that, if I'll put a post up on the forums asking for volunteers, as well as asking for input on what you guys like, what you guys dislike about how you guys envision it, rather, I guess you could say. And some of the things were, not everybody's going to agree with, waiting periods, for example. Not everybody agrees with the waiting period. That's obvious from this conversation, but I think it's something that we can build from. We can start the conversation, and then once we lock in on what we've done in the past versus what we're kind of doing now, then we can actually start making the game plan on actually going out and getting members into TeamSpeak with the idea of recruiting them.
But that brings up two things, or I should say, I want to bring up two things. A, we're small, which means we need to be nimble. We need to be able to react quickly and change quickly depending on the field we're walking into. But I would divide recruiting into two things. If Reddick came up to me or to you, Tuggan, and said, this guy's my buddy, we've been buddy for the last 15 years, he just started playing BF4, I want to make him a clan member, I would say, Reddick, if you're vouching, bring him in. If this is a guy that we don't know from Adam that nobody knows about, then there needs to be a touchy-feely period. And we need to figure out what that touchy-feely period is. I don't think it needs to be as long or as strict as it was in the past when we had a larger membership. Back to being nimble and flexible right now because we're small.
I agree.
I agree too.
E3.
That moves us on now to Clan Code of Conduct. We had posted up the Clan Code of Conduct on the forums. Well, I think it was Monday it went up. Monday or Tuesday. Has everybody had an opportunity to look it over?
I have not. I've been in the healing process, so.
I haven't looked at it.
There's two Code of Conducts up. One is the Gaming Council Code of Conduct. The other is the Member Code of Conduct. Member Code of Conduct has not really changed from what it was before. The difference there is that things such as the structure of the clan have changed. So, instead of, people being appointed to the administrative and higher up roles, that part was changed into, to be spearheaded as council. The positions are elected by the members at large, serve a 1-year term. There's a specific set of tasks that a big member will become responsible for when accepting a seat on the council within big. Resignation, again, that was something that would be, that was not, I don't think that was actually updated. The most of the updates, like I said, instead of, saying you need to talk to a director or whatever, it was just replaced with the word council. I think the big one that most people look that one over, everybody needs to re-agree for that one. Agree, read and understood, read and agreed, whatever you want to put, at least that we know, acknowledge that you've done that. On the new website, that will be a requirement for you to get your registration completed, is that you read the terms or the Code of Conduct and agree to it. The Gaming Council Code of Conduct, we created one for our own. This was voted on by all of the council members. The Gaming Council Code of Conduct will change, or can potentially change every month. Every month that it can either be voted up or down, or changes can be made to it depending on, what the clan or what the council feels important at that time. Any changes would obviously be, the clan would be notified if any changes were made to it. The Member Code of Conduct will be just changed like it's always been. It'll be updated annually. That was my understanding on it, unless Fatboy, you have different view on that.
No, I've read them both. The Clan Code of Conduct I didn't have any issues with. I had a few twinges over the council, but as I said in my original post, it's the council's job. So if you guys are comfortable with it, I'm willing to walk the path with you, and if we have to be nimble. Let's be nimble.
All right. So, length of service: council serves in the interest of the members. Council serve a term of 1 year, but not more than 15 months. Council members may not serve consecutive terms, except as otherwise noted here. Council meetings will meet every 2 weeks. A staff member must be present for the bi-monthly meeting when special projects are to be being done in the council, or the portion of the council needs to meet in between the bi-monthly meetings. The staff member does not need to be present. Announcements of anything passed in the absence of the staff member will not be passed to the members at large until the staff member has time to review same and make any recommended changes. Council members may not make any decision at a council meeting where less than 3 elected members are present. That one's kind of straightforward. Essentially, it takes the 2 people basically making rules for everyone. It takes at least 3 people to come to an agreement. 3 out of 4, that's majority. Discipline: the council will handle most disciplinary action with members. It's the view of the council that most negative actions of members can be dealt with by reviewing the code of conduct. In an instance where the council believes that the transgression of a member cannot be changed, a recommendation can be made to a member to be referred to a disciplinary review board. An exception will be made in cases of emergency, i.e., members recruiting for another clan, those kinds of issues where the person needs to be, taken out of TeamSpeak immediately or have their user rights or whatever revoked. Council members may not elect a seat to the disciplinary council without all 4 elected members being present. The council, the disciplinary review board, we're all adults here. I'm the type of person that if nobody here wants me around, I'm not going to stick around. So there should never be an issue where somebody is kicked out of the clan. There may be issues where we say to that person, hey, we need you to change your attitude, or we need you to stop doing this in channel. Other people are getting upset by it, or other people don't like that kind of attitude. But with the exception of somebody openly recruiting for another clan, or openly, causing dissent and trying to cause this clan to go off or break off into separate clans, that's about the only reason why I would ever see that somebody would be disciplined enough to be asked to be let go. In instances that have come up in the past where people have overstepped their bounds, that's kind of more where the disciplinary review board comes into play. Hey, we've asked this guy 3 times now to tone it down or to stop doing this. He doesn't listen. We don't necessarily want him kicked out, but he needs to either, be suspended, take a break, or be asked to just, not be a part of us anymore. And that would be in the disciplinary review board is 3 members from the members it would be 2 members at large and 1 council member. The council members will elect their person. The members at large will elect their person, and it's simple majority would rule out there. And essentially the only thing the disciplinary review board is meeting for is to say yay or nay as to whether or not that person needs to remain a part of the clan. But, I don't think it's ever going to come to that, because I can tell you personally, if people came to me and said, you're going up before the disciplinary review board, I would probably be at the point where I would say, you know what, forget you guys, I'm out anyways, don't even convene, which is what happens a lot in the past as well.
About the code of conduct page, is it the 2013 page, or do we have a 2014 page?
I'll bump it before we end here so you can read and agree.
Okay.
Absences: council members will notify the council when a leave of absence is necessary. Council members who are MIA for more than 3 consecutive bi-monthly meetings without advising the council of an absence can be removed by a unanimous vote of the 3 remaining elected council members, and an election of his replacement will come from general election by the members. That's not something that we take lightly, but it was something that we all agreed on. And if somebody just came in, they're sitting a 1-year term, they show up for 1 meeting, and we never hear from them again, what do? And it's not going to be something like that. And Breaker, I'm going to pick on you, for example, because your brother's here in the clan as well. If it was something like, where you were on the council and we didn't see you for like 3 or 4 meetings, we would probably go to your brother or send out a message to everybody. Has anybody heard from Breaker, before we decided to take that action? Not only that, but the council members themselves all have each other's cell phone numbers. So we're all can contact each other outside of the website or on TeamSpeak. So it's never really probably going to happen, but again, the code of conduct is there in case it does happen. Resignation. Council members who resign will cause the remaining time to be filled by a member from an open election from the members at large. That member only sits in the council seat until the term of that seat ends. The member will also be barred from running for immediate re-election unless they have sat in the seat for less than 3 months. That kind of came up with Crazy. Crazy had ran for council. He was on the council, and then he came to the council and said, I don't have time for this. I'm working, etc., etc. I need to step back. With that, we, put up the election. His term was for 6 months, and Rainmist took that one. So Rainmist won't be able to rerun for election again. But if, for example, he only had 3 months left or 2 months left of his term when he resigned, then yeah, we would have let that person rerun again for a full year seat. But he would have had to be reelected again. He wouldn't have been automatically appointed for 14 months. Emergency meetings. In case of an emergency, the council will convene as necessary, and if a member cannot be on Mumble, which actually needs to be changed to TeamSpeak, at that time of the emergency meeting can defer his vote to another member or vote via another electronic message. Changes to community rules, code of conduct. The council can adopt or change the council's governing rules once a quarter. Changes will be made and adopted at the council's third meeting of the quarter. That goes back, that basically just, I misspoke earlier when I said it could be changed monthly. We decided on a quarterly, and basically it's when the new member comes on. Anytime a new member comes on, we can vote it up again. Confidentiality. Council members must adhere to confidentiality when it comes to sensitive issues, topics, and member information. Breaking confidentiality can result in removal from the board. Removal of the board will be determined by the members at large. So basically, I told everybody that Primal was going in for surgery to have his whatever removed, and he didn't, and that wasn't something that everybody needed to know. That would be grounds for me breaking confidentiality. Me giving out everybody's, real name, date of birth, social security numbers, that would obviously be confidentiality. You telling me something in private and then me blabbing about it would be something that would break confidentiality. Now, me saying it to the other council members doesn't break confidentiality. It's when you get outside of that. Membership. Council members must remain in good standing at all times with their dues. Council members may not be a member of any other clan or gaming community while they sit on the council. Limited exception will be given if the council member is in competition gameplay with that clan or gaming community and is only part of their competitive squad. Any questions or concerns about that one?
Nope.
All right.
Well,
like I said, the code of conduct. Oh, go ahead, Breaker.
You said there's no issue if you're part of a competitive squad in a different clan?
That only actually, as far as like, you right now are a member at large. If you wanted to go be part of another clan, regardless if it was competitive or not, you have the right to do so. The only time that we're asking you to say, hey, dedicate your time only to Big is if you're on the council. We don't want, you shouldn't be a part of, like me, like I said, I talked with the guys in B&B. While I'm on a part of the council, I can't be a member of B&B and a part of Big. If B&B was out doing actual competitions,
timed out.
Then I could join B&B. Then I could still be a part of B&B as far as doing our competitions. That would be the only time you would ever see me wearing their tags. Otherwise, I would always have my Big tags on. Make sense?
He dropped.
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah, he dropped. Talking, the only thing that isn't in there that we'll roll with right now is, because we're a corporation, if the change to corporate law means we have to change how we're operating, you have to give me the flexibility to come in and say this has to change. It can't be open to clan discussion because it's a legal thing.
I don't think anybody really has an issue with that, with the exception of
I'm good.
what you mean by that.
It'd be the same thing as if they changed COPA laws or anything else. That's why I said I'm willing to roll with this until something comes up, and I don't know anything that on the horizon is going to come up. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that if the government decides to say X, Y, and Z, we're going to have to shift. We're just going to have to shift.
Oh, I understand. Okay, yeah. That was all I have. Does anybody else have any questions about what we talked about? Concerns, comments?
I'm good.
No, there's nothing I can say that Primal already hasn't said better than I possibly could.
Thanks,
Jesus.
Red.
Fall back asleep again.
User entered your channel.
And welcome back, Breaker.
Sorry about that.
I don't know where you dropped off at. Did I answer your question?
You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah. Welcome back again.
Yeah, I'm having issues with all that. I apologize.
That's all right. Did we answer your question?
No, everything cut out, but if you want to continue with the meeting, I'll just get with you later.
All right. It'll be in the recording, my answer.
Okay.
If no, I was about ready to close it down. I had asked everybody while you were still off if there was any other questions, comments, or concerns.
No, I was wondering about that competitive, because there's talks with a few people about an insurgency competitive team that I'll possibly be joining in the near future.
No, and that was what I was saying. Essentially, you can be part of two clans at one time. The only difference there would be is if you were elected to the council, you would need to drop their tags, with the exception of while you were doing like competitive play.
Which was another thing I was going to bring up with, I talked to Reddick about it, a possible income solution is there is going to be insurgency tournaments where you pay like money to get in, but first, second, third prize wins money. I'm thinking that would possibly be a good outlet to look for money source.
Yeah.
I mean,
I have to look at that, Breaker.
from what I read, there's like no travel at all. It's just at the PC at home.
No, but it means you might become an employee of Big Incorporated.
Gotcha.
I don't think so, but I gotta look at that. I can ask that question and no big deal. But I will ask that question and get back to you on it.
I appreciate that.
One last thing before we break. Under the new website, the donation system will be put back to the way that we used to have it, where you donated, and then when you go to the donations tab or the donations page, you can see that Tuggin donated $10 on such and such date. And then that way, if I can't remember when I donated, or to make sure that I actually shows up that I donated, it'll show up there. Also, there's a plugin for vBulletin that we're going to attempt to go to where instead of the money going through PayPal, it will be essentially the payment will go through a cash register of sorts on vBulletin, and then to be deposited into the big checking account that Fat Boy uses so that he can pay the monthly bills.
Okay, since you're wrapping this up, I'm just getting my feet back into this, but any questions for me from my end?
I do. How you feeling? I haven't talked to you in a while.
I'm above dirt. That's a good thing. I'm a month ahead of schedule in treatment, which is a great thing. I still get really tired at night. I'm probably close to, I'm usually asleep between 8 and 9, but I'm getting stronger every day. So thank you. I'm doing much better than expected.
That's good, brother.
Glad to hear you doing better.
Yeah.
Anyone got anything else?
I'm good.
All right, I'm going to shut the recording off then.